All right, and we're live. Good afternoon. It's happy hour with Ronnie Philips and Friends. I want to thank you all for checking in here this afternoon. We try to do this every Thursday at 4 o'clock Central Time. I would be remiss if I didn't mention our fine sponsors, and they're actually organizations that I am affiliated with. And so if you have a commercial building or business and you are interested in talking about what plans that you want to take into post-COVID, we would love to answer those questions. You can find information at cleaningbyc3.com. Also a part of a waterfowl hunting show on Sportsman's Channel called Heartland Waterfowl. We'll be talking about that a little bit more as we visit with our guest this afternoon. Also, Little Black Box, if you're looking to possibly save some money on your monthly cable or satellite bill, we could actually eliminate that. So we'll have more information at the end of the show on the Little Black Box that I'm involved with. And then Zaya Active is a new, actually, this is one of the shirts that my wife, it's a business that my wife and I are involved with high performance activewear. So again, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and LinkedIn every Thursday at 4 o'clock. We would love for you to engage and ask questions and make comments. And so without further ado, let me welcome my guest this week, coming to us live from his compound in northern Missouri, my buddy, Rex Luchtel. Buddy, how are you? Welcome to Happy Hour.
How's it going, man?
Yeah.
And you said
got the bush latte right there. All right.
We're an hour early, but that's okay. We're in northern Missouri, out in the middle of nowhere. It's all good.
Hey, happy hour is whenever you want to make it happy hour, right? It's always 5 o'clock somewhere.
Absolutely.
How's it going up there, man? You getting any rain today? I was kind of hoping to do this outside on the deck, but it started raining here about 30, 40 minutes ago, and so I had to move it inside.
You know, I just got done mowing, cleaning up here, and it's looking like it's headed this way. I was going to ask you if it's raining there.
So it is. It is. So your food plots are getting some water.
They are. We actually got a little bit. Hopefully the mushrooms are going to be up more of those. So
exactly. I haven't even had the chance to get out and look for those, but I see you found a few.
I found a few yesterday and a few last week. Plenty. Enough. So.
Right on. Well, let's jump into it. I try to do this every Thursday. It's called Ronnie Philips and Friends for a reason, because it's people that I'm associated with, that I'm friends with, that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And you are certainly one of those individuals. You've done a lot with your career, from being a CEO to an entrepreneur to an outdoorsman, and even a mentor of mine and many others. And so I want to thank you for jumping in. And the first thing we'll talk about, I guess, is kind of where your professional career started. And if I'm wrong on any of this, you're welcome to correct me. But you and I have had multiple conversations about how you attribute so much of your success from your time in serving in the United States Marines. You were on active duty for 4 years. Kind of speak to the lessons that some of the best lessons and the toughest lessons you learned during that time that you were serving in the Marines.
Well, you've heard me say several times, I've told a lot of people that I owe pretty much a lot of my success in business, life in general, all the way around to the Marine Corps. I don't want to take anything away from anybody else, because there's been a lot of influential people in my life too, no question about it. And my wife, my kids, everything. My parents, they've been, but
sure.
If a person would have known me before I went in the Marines, and then when I came out, you would have seen two distinct different people.
What was the difference?
The biggest difference is confidence.
Okay.
That's the number one thing I walked away with, that I can say that, prior to that, you were looking at an 18-year-old kid that went to high school, had fun and everything else, but was shy, never would ask a girl out on a date, never went to a dance, anything like that.
Oh,
Coming out of there, I mean, they kind of put the fear of God in you, that you're, above human, so to speak. But again, the confidence you leave with is just unbelievable. Not to mention the discipline too.
Sure.
I mean, they teach you to be more disciplined than you know. And if you really look at the Marine Corps boot camp, I've studied some behavioral science stuff in business. And it's pretty interesting, because a few of the people that taught the class related back to the Marine Corps on behavioral science, and how the Marine Corps has it down to a science. When they bring you into boot camp, what they do, they break you down and basically start building you back up, teaching you that you're only as good is the weakest person in your platoon. It's kind of like a chain. You're the weakest link in the chain. And so that does a lot for you. Then the discipline and the confidence to let you know that no matter how big, small, anything, whoever you are, you're just as good as the next person. So there's a lot to be said for that. And, you know, a lot of people don't have a lot of confidence in themselves. And that's the one thing I can say most people walk away with. And, you know, after that, getting a job, business, so on and so forth. It just, I mean, that's the foundation right there. If you don't have confidence in yourself and what you do, you're already 2 steps behind yourself, you know?
So that was probably the core principle or the core lesson that you took from serving in the Marines and applying that to, you know, whether it was a job or a business that you own. Was there anything outside of just the confidence side of things?
Life in general. I mean, that's what everything about it, everything you do. So, and the discipline to know that, you know, you got to keep going, can't give up. Just because you hear no doesn't mean that's the end. And just because you fail doesn't mean you should stop. You got to keep going. You got to keep doing. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. I love that.
It was the best 4-year college degree I could get.
Well, that being said, we probably don't say it enough, but thank you for your service. You're certainly a veteran, and you know, the freedoms that we have today are because of folks like you that had the courage to enlist and put yourself out there on the line. So it is greatly appreciated. So that being said, what was the transition like? Maybe kind of speak to that time when you were serving. Was that kind of during the Vietnam
yeah,
conflict?
I went in, you know, I didn't, I actually joined right after Vietnam was over. And I remember in boot camp, they actually had refugees out in California at Camp Pendleton that they were bringing over and releasing here. So I wasn't in a wartime situation, although I did get to go overseas and see some things and do a lot of different things there. But it, you know, again, when you're in the service, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, you're there, you're serving, and you never know. There's any situation can crop up, and you cross paths with a lot of other people that were in those situations. So, and I have a ton of respect for a lot of the people that I was in the Marine Corps with. It's amazing because many of them were older people, in which, you know, were mentors of mine, so to speak. Well, it's their mentor, and so meeting them and understanding that, it's kind of like, it's a family. I still, matter of fact, I was talking to a guy I was in Marines with just the other day that's suffering from ALS, and had the opportunity. He came to my house, and so I stay in touch with a lot of them. They're like brothers, even though I don't have a brother. You know, the brothers I never had.
Yeah. So. What was the transition like from military life during that time? I guess that was right after the crisis with Vietnam, but you know, I wasn't alive during that time. My dad served during that time, and you heard about it's kind of weird because my dad talks about all of the how divided the country is today, and how he kind of relates of how bad it is today to back at that time and how bad it was then. So what did you run into any issues going back into civilian life?
Everybody, even today, even the younger generation, God, I hate to say that because I'm the older generation. You know, Vietnam War to me was kind of that's where it started, so to speak. Really? That's where a lot of the division took place, you know, as to protesting and, you know, the baby boomers, us. And, you know, I attest a lot of that to the way a lot of kids are today, because the way you raise your kids and right, wrong, or indifferent, you know, and I'm not going to get into politics or hear anything else, but I think there's a lot of, you know, that was kind of the peace movement. And so you were either on one side of the fence, so to speak, there. And I believe a lot of kids were raised that way. And I think that division just continued to take place more through how people raise their kids. And we see it today. And I talked about it quite a bit, that I believe that has a lot to do with why we are where we're at today.
Was it a tough transition going from 4 years in military life to civilian life again?
No, not for me.
Good.
It's pretty interesting because when you're in the service, and I would probably say any branch at that particular time, after you've been in a few years, you want to get out, so to speak, unless you're going to make a career out of it, so to speak. And that last year, knowing you're going to get out and everything, it's kind of like, yeah, you just want to be away from it,
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget when I got out of the Marines, when we were there, when I got discharged. And they do a pretty neat ceremony, and there was an old sergeant major. I don't know how old he was, probably my age now, but anyway, he lined us all up and he said, "Boys, I know all of you probably hate the Marine Corps and are cussing it and so on and so forth." And he goes, "You want to get out of here, this and that." And he says, "But I'm going to tell you a little story." He says, sometime, somewhere, someplace, you're going to be in a bar somewhere." And he said, "And you're going to be there and a fight's going to break out. And you're going to find out one of the guys in the fight is a Marine." He says, "You're going to be the first son of a bitch over there to back it." He's right. It's a brotherhood.
Yeah.
It is. I can't tell you how many, when I meet a fellow Marine or anything, I'm instantly drawn to them. I'm going to help them. I'm going to do anything. And they just instill that in you. So
Interesting.
So yeah, getting out for me, I kind of had, it's kind of interesting. I went in, one of the reasons I went in the Marine Corps was also to get the GI Bill, because I wanted to go to college. I didn't want my parents to pay for it. So when I was in the Marine Corps, my dad was a federal game warden.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do for my career.
Oh,
That was my focus. So
sure.
I was going to go to the Marines, get out of the Marines, then go get a college education and become a game warden, federal game warden.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's funny how things happen, because, I thought that's really what I wanted to do in life. And when I got out, my dad had retired, and being a federal game warden, it became a lot more political. He was one of the only persons that ever got on a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that didn't have a college education. And back in those days, they kind of ran their own show, did what they wanted. And it was a real, you were out in the field working and everything, but it became much more political because of a lot of things. And so when I got out and came home, I don't know, I kind of saw a change in him. He had retired, and he was kind of like, he wasn't talking like that was something I should do. And I don't know that he talked me out of it or whatever, but I'd also learned this extra career out of doing machining when I was out in California, stationed there.
Okay.
Of how to do machining. And so I decided, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. For whatever reason, I didn't go to college, and I became a machinist, tool and die maker. And I finally figured out a few years after that I really didn't want to be a game warden, because being a game warden was about being in law enforcement. I didn't want to be in law enforcement. I wanted to be out there hunting and fishing and everything. So
right.
It's just funny how it all works out.
Sure.
So it all plays out, the way it is. So things happen for a reason.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, if you are watching, and we do have several that are jumping on here, we want to thank you for watching. Feel free to engage, ask questions, make comments. I will jump on here real quick because our buddy Jared wants to know what you do to, stay looking so young.
Oh, Jared, man. Well, I'll tell you when you get older.
All right. So when was it that you completely embraced and wanted to pursue an entrepreneurial career? When did you have that aha moment?
That's funny. I think that happens to everybody when opportunity comes to you and kind of hits you right in the face.
Yeah.
And that happened to me when I actually went to work for a particular company and had the opportunity to start my own business on the side. So that's kind of when it really, really started. Basically,
what was your side business?
Actually doing injection mold polishing.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of how it all started right there. It's my wife and I had done some other things, rental property and this and that, but that's kind of when we started our first business. And then from there, it just kind of spawned a lot of other different smaller businesses, and different things started happening.
Sure. So how far along were you? Like what age were you when you decided that you were going to kind of take that leap of faith?
Oh, I would have been Probably 30, right in there.
Okay.
Yeah, right in there.
And
28 to 32.
And what, so was it, I'm sure it was a combination of many things. One, we talked about already, the confidence that you were able to get from the time that you spent in the military. Was it a combination of that and a need for the service or products that you could provide with
Yep.
that? I mean, I'm sure it was a combination of many things, but what was it that made you say, because I subscribe to the feeling that, or the belief that it's the start that stops most people. A lot of people have the ideas. A lot of people aspire to do things, but they never really start because they're scared that they might fail. And so you had that confidence there. What was it that allowed you to get over that and pursue it?
Confidence in knowing what I was doing. I did have a partner.
Okay.
I pretty much had partners in all my business, which is a whole nother subject. Having a partnership has great things, and there's some downsides to it too. So it's one of those things that if you go in business with a partner, make sure you understand what's the expectations. Everything's in line. But back to your question, knowing what I was doing and having the confidence in what I was doing and seeing an opportunity, and the rest of it was, there was no turning back. And once you've gone through it one time, after that, it's really difficult.
When you kind of when you set your mind, it's so cliche, but when you set your mind to doing something, if you really commit to it and you hyper focus on it, then it won't fail. I know that I felt that way when I started my path. I was so hell bent on getting out of the situation that I was in, that I was going to do whatever it took to get that project started and sustain it, retain it, and failure was not an option.
Yeah. And I think after the first one, it's kind of like having kids. When you bring your first kid home, you're scared and you're watching everything, and that second kid doesn't get any. The whole route. You know what to expect.
Right. Exactly.
Once you know the expectations after the first time, it's there's really no fear involved. You know what's going to happen. You know how to react, and so on and so forth. So yeah.
So kind of speaking to that and just having the mindset to execute beyond the fear level, personal development has been such an instrumental part of my success, and whatever success you want to call that, the limited success that I've had. Over your career, have you implemented? You talked earlier about reading. I can't remember what you referred it to, but reading studies and so on and so forth, keeping yourself up to speed on some knowledgeable information. How have you implemented personal development into your daily routine?
When I was working full time and back then, a lot of different ways. I was actually in one program here locally. I don't think it goes anymore. It was called CEO Focus. And it was basically once a month. I think we had 10 or 20 CEOs, and we would meet monthly at each other's facilities and just spend time together, understanding each other's businesses and seeing how things were going. And it's so nice to bounce things off of each other that way. And I think through mentoring and through partnerships, just being with different people, surrounding yourself with like people is probably the biggest way to grow your own, to grow yourself.
Yeah.
And then, not to mention, like I said, I've gone to a lot of different seminars, read a lot of different books on behavioral science. I used to really be big into behavioral science because it's really, really fascinating to me to understand why people do what they do. And it's really not that difficult.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different ways. People break it down into a lot of different methodologies, and they're all pretty similar if you really study them. But it's very interesting.
Is there a certain, do you recall like a certain book or a certain seminar that you went to that had a significant impact you can go, like I've told you this many times. I have that memory of when you called me the day that I left the radio station and you'd given me some advice, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But I to this day, never forget that, because it is held true beyond just beyond just that one particular comment that you made. So was there a seminar or a book or something that you kind of go back and be like, wow, even today that still holds true?
Oh, I really can't. I don't know. When I go and I'm all in when I go to this kind of thing. So I can't sit here and tell you just one. To me, they're all, when I go, I get a lot out of them. I really do.
Yeah.
So I couldn't name just one. Actually, it's been a long time too, Don, since I went to a bunch of them. But I did go. One of them I went to out in Boston. It was actually done at Harvard, and it was a behavioral science. And I can't remember the name of it. It was probably one of the neatest ones. Again, it was the one that really broke down the Marine Corps and how they basically do boot camp and how that's the way life is, and so forth.
Very cool.
So,
how did you get involved in acquiring commercial real estate? I mean, I know that you've talked to
that's
me
pretty
about it a little bit, but I'm fascinated by it.
Our first business we started, we rented. We actually started in my garage and outgrew it and went to my partner's basement. And then we ended up renting a building. And then after a while, it was one of those, because I'd done residential real estate, is why are we paying somebody when we could have our own building? So there in Lee Summit, there was some land being developed, which is still own a building. And we got an SBA loan and built our first building. And then kind of just decided that, this is pretty nice, because being paid for, added on to it, and then rented it, and then just kind of decided that was going to be kind of a retirement thing. And just kind of took off, and then kind of got into buying and selling agricultural real estate, so to speak. People that strategy before. It's really simple, going right out, in the areas that are not developed, that are still agricultural, that are going to be developed in any city, and buying property and watch, the value go up every year, the land value go up, and just do it that way.
Did you foresee when you were doing it, or I mean, were you kind of going out on a whim, or did you have any kind of projections or forecasts that would allow you to feel like that? I mean, we all kind of know that for the most part, land appreciates pretty well. Rarely does it depreciate. Or were you just feeling the need to just take a chance and putting your money in a safe spot that you felt like could ultimately provide retirement down the road?
Well, diversification, you hear about it everywhere. I mean, so that was just in my portfolio. That's just one portion of it. And so I wouldn't put all my eggs in that basket, but as you're more successful with things, you're going to be wanting to do more. And so that's kind of what I did. So never went out on a limb where I'm going to put everything in there to where I'm going to be, leveraged. If that goes down, I'm going to go down, but just continue to grow that portion of it. And it's done very well, And, as soon as you can pay stuff off, pay it off. Don't put yourself in a situation to where, if you're buying a whole bunch of real estate and you're leveraged to where all your other assets are going to be tied up because of that, that's not a smart move either. So,
was there any tough lessons in that venture that were starting out, being that you had never done it before?
Well, the one thing I would tell you is know the area, no matter what you're doing, know the area where you're doing commercial real estate or any kind of land investing. I've done a couple deals out of town with somebody else that weren't the best. And I say one of the big reasons was I didn't know the market that well. I just felt like it was probably going to, be a good buy, so to speak. So make sure you understand that whole area. It's kind of like me going into, restaurant business. I have no experience in it.
Right.
Don't look at, I'll never go in restaurant business. Don't worry about it. It appears like there's a lot of money in it, but
yeah, you don't know. Arthur's chiming in and wanted to say thanks for your service.
Hey, Arthur.
You know Arthur? Okay.
Oh yeah, we went marlin fishing down in Mexico right before this Corona thing hit and had an unbelievable day.
Oh, okay. Which one? And you caught the marlin, or you guys both did? You all did?
4 of us. We caught 5 marlin that day. Yeah.
Who caught the biggest one?
One of us did. I don't know.
So this kind of brings us to where you and I cross paths somewhat.
You mean that night we crossed paths and a lot of beers?
Yeah, was that Power and Light where that happened? Was it
my driveway?
Well, yeah, when we had spoken before, I ended up in your driveway just drinking a lot of beers. But I was trying to remember the first time maybe that we actually had some heart-to-heart discussions and a lot of beers. If that was that the first night in your driveway?
It was one of the most serious ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So Heartland Bowhunter obviously is a very popular deer. Well, it's not just deer; it's big game also. Bow hunting show on Outdoor Channel. What 12, 13 years? I think it's 13, season 13 maybe, that's coming out this July. Kind of talk about how that got started, how your involvement with that got started, and then the progression of where that brand was able to grow beyond just being a TV show.
Yeah, that got started. Oh, God, what are we in our 13th year now? I guess. One of the manufacturing companies I had, we were actually manufacturing the tree arms for filming.
The cameras. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how one of my employees, he knew about the show. We didn't actually start it from the ground level. And so we were actually in manufacturing the arm, and I ended up investing in it. And Sean and Mike were in college. They got involved in it. That was one of the reasons I invested in it, was primarily for them to get involved.
And for those who might be watching and don't know, Sean is Rex's son.
Yeah, most of the time. So anyway, and then we ended up taking the show over, and Mike and Sean pretty much ran with it from that point when they got out of college, and it just started growing from there. And those two pretty much have done it single-handedly.
Yeah. Well, they have, but I think both of them would agree, and I know certainly Mike would, just from the numerous discussions that I've had with him, just because the dynamic of what I do for HW is similar to what he does for HB. And not only have you been a mentor to me, but you've also been a mentor to them. So with that involvement, kind of talk about how the concept has grown and creatively grown beyond just being a TV show.
Yeah, I got to say, in the early day when we started it, and the whole, I guess, when we changed the whole format, year 2, I guess, or whatever, really showing the brand and not doing the old school stuff, I was skeptical. I'll be honest with you, because I didn't see how I was going to gain traction with people, but I was underestimating the audience we were looking at. You know, my audience when I was younger, it wasn't college educated. It was just guys that hunt. You know, technology was not really there in hunting. And as that was starting to evolve, you're getting a lot of people that were definitely, I hate to say a lot smarter, but they knew what they were watching. They knew what they wanted to watch. And so I think as we changed that really gained traction. And you can see it. And we discovered we had people that were watching the show that didn't even hunt. And that was unbelievable. I couldn't believe that. They were watching it for the videography side of it, not the killing portion of it.
Right.
Not, just the hunt. And so the combination of not having that hard sell on there and the idea of the high-end videography of just being outside, storytelling, nature, I think is the real cornerstone of why it's successful.
Which then obviously led to Mike and Sean creating their own production company and producing other shows like The Lindsay Way, and then of course our show with Heartland Waterfowl. And basically then what you're saying is that attention to detail and that focus on the value of cinematography kind of was the stepping stone to taking and produce or creating a production company.
Yeah, and that's those two.
Right.
I mean,
no, I understand that. I was just wanting your insight on that.
Yeah, they did it, and I was ecstatic about it, because it kind of did the same way I did. I didn't go to college. I mean, I was self-taught. And nothing against going to college. And we can talk about that too if you want. But it was just cool to see them that they had the passion to want to learn and take that to the next level, and take it to where it's at today. I mean, not without any bumps in the road. I think that's probably where I kind of knew it was going to happen, because the whole show started out as everybody wants to be on a hunting show. Oh, it's fun, great, but this as well as anyone else. It's work. Year 3, it becomes a job. Work.
Sure.
Work gets tiring, even though you enjoy doing. But once you keep going through that, get to the other side to where you realize that this is probably one of the neatest jobs I'll ever have. You're there.
There's definitely worse things you could be doing.
There what?
There's definitely worse things you could be doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's pretty awesome. The way it is. It's a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes that goes into that every day. I was out morning self-filming myself on a turkey hunt. You're dragging all kinds of gear out there when you're doing it by yourself, even with somebody else, and you have to go out there every day with the same mindset that you're going to film to the 100th degree. You can't slack. You never know what's going to happen. So that's it. Yeah. Before I get into the next talking point that I posted there, one of the things that I appreciate you is how you kind of, and it leads into this actually with the mentoring side. But when we were getting to know each other, and I had shared my passion for wanting to, in some capacity, being involved in outdoor television and parlaying all of that experience that I had in radio into that, you kind of took me under your wing. And I know I came out and filmed you on some hunts, and you filmed me on some hunts. And even as of most recently, we took my daughter Reagan out on your farm back behind the house, and she got to be a part of a very cold day, but experience us harvesting a doe, which was pretty special. So I certainly hold those memories close to my heart, and am honored that you were a part of that for sure. So that said, let's kind of dive into the mentoring side. I spoke earlier about the day that you called me when I gave the radio station notice to say that I, was going to leave and pursue this other venture. And you asked me how I felt. And of course, this was my first time ever really kind of taking a leap of faith into the unknown. And you had told me that day that that I will look back on that day and be so glad that I made that decision, because there will be opportunities that will present themselves that I would have otherwise never even fathomed or imagined would happen. And that is, it's held true to this day. For example, the commercial cleaning business, which is my main financial income. Never, ever did I think that I would be involved in that industry. And so that's just one example. I don't want to, beat on that too much, but, as it relates to mentoring, you've been instrumental in guiding me in launching, Heartland Waterfowl. And so what is your mindset in kind of offering tutelage to those who have potential, like you essentially saw in myself?
Well, one of the things I told you was you're going to wake up tomorrow morning, and after, that last day of work, that you're going to be the first day you're going to get up in your life and go, you know what? Today I'm going to work for me.
Yeah.
I make all the decisions on what I'm going to do today.
That's
nobody else. And it's kind of like somebody took the shackles off your legs. Somewhat free. So, and I was kind of the same way, believe it or not, because I worked my whole career, even though I started these businesses. I didn't work at a lot of those businesses. I ran another big company. And that was the way I felt the first day I came home when I somewhat retired from that company. And the other portion of what you're talking about, and it's pretty basic if anybody thinks about it. When you're working a 9-to-5 job, or 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, 5 days a week, 7 days a week, you're at work. You're in the same group of people pretty much day in, day out, week out, month out, year out. When you're away from there and you're out doing other things, you have the opportunity to come in touch with people that you don't even know you don't know.
Right.
And all of those people are potential opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
You to put yourself in the place to be in front of those people.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not that difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you're working, you don't have the time to pursue these other opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell somebody, and I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way, because the definition of rich is different to each person. But if you truly want to be rich, and the only way you're going to do it is have your own business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with working for people. You can still be rich in your own mind, working a 9-to-5 job, working for somebody. Nothing wrong with that. But if you really want to be an entrepreneur and you have a lot of potential, you want to go places, you got to have your own business. Mm-hmm. Be involved, an owner, something to that degree. So it's just not going to happen on a 9-to-5 job.
Mm-hmm. Well, back to the mentoring side, do you seek opportunities to mentor people, or do they just kind of happen? And the reason I ask that is because, and I feel awkward saying it because I don't want to exaggerate what I feel is success. Like, I've done a few things. I've gotten lucky a couple times. I'm not to the level of success yet that I want to be. But I've gotten to a place now where I can feel the blessings and see opportunities to where I can give back. I see opportunities where people have seen my road of somewhat success and have come to me to lean on me for advice, where otherwise, why would they? I'm just another guy who's working a corporate job. And so I've found a new sense of gratification, not that I'm trying to get anything out of it, but it's kind of like this sense of gratification of that I'm giving back. So do you seek opportunities like that, or do they just stumble along the way for you? Because I find myself seeking them more than I ever did before.
I guess when I meet someone or talk to someone, if I feel like they're interested in wanting to learn more, I won't push it on them. But if somebody comes to me and asks me, hey, I'm going to be all in, try to help them. I mean, I've done several different people have asked me how I got to where I'm at, which that's kind of the do. If they ask me, then I'm going to give them I'm going to tell them as much as they want to know. But I wouldn't say I go out of my way to try to do that to someone or for someone, because like I said, not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody wants to have a business. I mean, it's not for everybody. There's no question about it. It all looks shiny on the outside, but there's a lot, it as well as me. There's a lot of stress involved.
Oh yeah. Well, and mentoring can go beyond just, guiding somebody on an entrepreneurial path. I mean, it could be, as it pertains to their business and how they're, handling a promotion, or whether or not they want to accept a promotion. So, but
business-wise, anybody that wants advice or anything, I'm more than happy anytime. But I wouldn't say I go out of the way or try to be involved with jumping in on something that I see and say, hey, let me help you with that. I'm just not that kind of person. I don't know. It's kind of like religion,
I got lucky because you saw something in me, and I really do think that success is a product of people that you surround yourself with. You're a product of your environment, and I was fortunate enough and lucky enough to surround myself with your guys' group, and you in particular. And you saw something in me that allowed you to invest time in helping me, and I don't say it enough that I appreciate that. And I've tried to always not forget that or take it for granted. And so that, somewhere down the road, maybe I can pass that on.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, come out of there. The old saying, surround yourself by people that
you got romper room going on is what you got.
A lot of background noise. Here in the grandchild with a vacuum cleaner, but surround yourself by people smarter than you are.
Yeah,
I mean, there's something to be said for that,
for sure.
So I want to think all people around me are smarter than me. Now you actually asked for it. You weren't. I didn't just see something in you or whatever. We talked, and I could tell you wanted to know more. You were asking questions, and you wanted to show, you wanted to do something. So to me, it was like, hey, it's a no-brainer. I'm gonna try to. Plus, I really felt like you were going to be an attribute to the show. I really did. I mean, for HW, no question about it. So you're a go-getter.
I try to be a doer. And the cool thing about that was those lessons. And look, again, and you kind of alluded this earlier. I mean, while you were instrumental, I had, several others that were instrumental to my success as well. But the lessons that I learned in taking that leap of faith and applying it to the launch of Heartland Waterfowl, I also were able to take those lessons and apply it to other ventures now that I'm involved with. So it's just funny how life works out like that. And anyway, how much do you attribute networking to your success? Part of my, I feel weird saying success, but was being that I worked on the radio, I had a large network of people. I knew a lot of people from just being in that limelight. And I realized after leaving radio, wow, that was very valuable. And I didn't understand how valuable it was until I was no longer doing it. So did you ever get involved in networking groups or put yourself in a situation that you were constantly meeting people? So how much networking have you done over your career?
It's extremely important. There's no question about it. I don't think a person can do enough networking, either if it's in your business segment, what you do, or, supply chain, or something new venture or whatever. So I don't think you can do enough of it. I mean, because you're always running, that's where opportunities come from.
Right.
That's where you learn opportunities.
Sure.
I mean, I did as much as I had time.
Yeah, you attributed quite a bit of your success then to networking and making that a priority. Yeah.
Trade shows, going out, doing seminars, everything. Yeah, absolutely. Because those relationships you have there can lead to all kinds of different things. I mean, it's like a spider web. Can go a lot of different places for you.
Sure.
Not just in business and personal life, everything. Yeah. So
one of your fishing buddies has chimed in here.
Oh yeah.
Can you read
that's
that?
Ben. He's a great guy. He is. Ben's an entrepreneur, man. That guy is at his age, he's a go-getter.
Thanks for chatting.
A lot of stuff with him.
I appreciate Ben watching. Thank you, buddy.
He's got a great tree trimming business. He just started himself. So
good for him. Good deal. So we're getting towards the end here. And the last thing I guess I would ask you, after all that you've accomplished and being involved in a variety of different things, what goals now do you have for yourself, whether they're professional, personal, or both?
That's a difficult one. Her right over there.
Yep.
No more business deals. enough. And I got to say, I agree with her. Yeah. That's where, it's a great conversation too. People want to know because, everybody wants to make money, and how much is enough to retire? How much, you ought to ask. That would be an interesting topic to ask a lot of people.
Yeah.
How much do you need to live? And what's your definition of being rich?
Sure.
And talking about monetary things. So, but no, pretty much I'm backed away from getting into anything else right now. The one thing is you become an entrepreneur and you acquire things, and that's it. Their assets, being whatever it is, all of those things take time.
Yeah.
And time's the one thing that we only have X amount of. And as you get older, you start realizing that you can create business after business after business, and what's really important to you in life. You know what I like to do. I like the outdoors.
Sure.
And I can spend 7 days a week, 24 hours a day in the outdoors. And so as you have more businesses and more things and more stuff, all those things have to be taken care of, and they take up time, precious time. So I'm to the point to where I'm sizing down now. We're actually getting rid of things, so to speak. So I'm on the back end of that deal. So, and I won't say they haven't achieved all the goals I wanted to achieve, but I guess really living out the rest of my life being happy and doing the things I enjoy doing.
Right.
Which is what I'm doing.
Which is more
right now.
Professional.
What's that?
Your goals now basically then pertain more towards your personal life than your professional life. Yeah.
Professional life, I've done more than I ever thought I would ever do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as a kid growing up, I had a great childhood, didn't have much, and loved everything my parents did and everything else. But I've had more than I never had dreams I would do what I've done today.
Right.
And so I don't have anything to sit here and go, my bucket list, I wish I owned this company, I do that, No.
Yeah. Well, Rex,
been there, done that. Been at the top, been at the bottom. So.
I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate the time that you've invested in me to help me get to where I am in my professional career. And you've been there for me beyond just what you've done for me professionally, been there for a friend, even in good times and in tough times. And it means a lot. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, because it's another way for me to show my gratitude to you. Plus, I feel like that you have an interesting story. I love how you give so much respect and credit to your time served in the military and how you were able to apply that and the lessons learned to your success. And I like your tenacity and how you've approached your professional life with, kind of a no holds barred attitude. And, you were going to get involved in something and failure wasn't going to be an option. And so you weren't going to even let that creep into your mind. And again, that being said, I see that personality. I see the way you conduct your life like that. And subscribing to the mindset of being a product of the environment that you surround yourself with, and me having the fortune of surrounding myself with you, I've taken some lessons from that. And so it's a great story to share, especially during a time when people are sitting at home and they may have great ideas, but they don't know how to get started. And so that's kind of the point of this live stream, is to provide positive and compelling content in a time when there's so much negativity, and maybe somebody will get something inspirational or motivational out of it. So I really appreciate you taking the time, not only for me, but being on the show. Yeah.
I got one more point I want to make. Yeah. I talked about college, and, I didn't go to college. Took some college courses, Marine Corps, this and that, whatever. Probably because I changed what I wanted to do. College isn't for everyone. And that's probably one of the most difficult things with raising kids today that I see. I worked with our school district quite a bit on a thing called career paths, and actually used to go talk to younger kids about that whole concept that, you don't have to go to college to be successful. College is a door opener. It's a great thing. And my kids, both my boys, were going to join the Marine Corps. Honestly, that's what they wanted to do, because they thought.
I knew that.
Oh yeah, they did. But we encouraged them. They're going to try the college route, because Marianne and we didn't go to college either. We said we're going to make sure they're going to at least try the college route first, which is good. Nothing wrong with it. But one of the most difficult things is getting kids to focus on what it is they really want to do for a career before they go to college or when they start college. And it's hard. It really is. And there's so many opportunities out there that don't require college that can take you to places that are just as good as a college education is going to take you. And I feel today that they're overlooked. And I think a lot of it is parents are just ignorant to the factor of what those real careers are out there. So I want to put a big
look, there was I would agree with that 100%. Most people don't know that I don't have a 4-year degree. With my pursuit in getting into radio, I got an associate's and went right into the workforce, and did that for 22 years and was able to obtain a lot of experience in just real life lessons, I guess. And learn many facets of the radio industry, which allowed me then to parlay, again, that knowledge and experience into what I'm doing today. And so I would never try to talk anybody out of going to college. But I do think, unlike where it was when I was maybe in grade school, well, heck, even in high school, where, the narrative was, well, if you don't go to college, you're going to be a bum. And, that's just, it's just not true.
Yeah, I just think the biggest thing is helping kids today figure out what the career is they want to go after before they go spend time in any kind of educational program. Just going in there blindly. And it's very hard to get them to focus on that.
Is it hard to focus right now?
Yeah. I'm surprised I didn't get the one question I was going to get about my tooth today being chipped. I really thought
I wasn't going to do that to you, but if you'd like to share the story.
Just so everybody knows, my tooth is chipped. It's been chipped right up here, over here. One of these deer up here 2 years ago, I fell straight to the concrete floor in here and face planted right into a concrete floor and chipped my tooth, fractured one wrist, sprained the other one, cracked my sternum. And so my tooth chipped out right when this quarantine thing started. So I can't go to the dentist. So
you can't get in to get it fixed.
Yet, so
you can afford that great little compound that you got there, but you can't get in there and get your teeth fixed, right? You need to go start a new business to fix your teeth, buddy. Come on.
There you go.
Rex, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. As we round this up, I just want to share again with everybody, as this is an opportunity to keep my brands relevant. I'm involved as director of business development for a nationwide commercial cleaning company, and cleaning and disinfecting and sanitizing has never been more important of a topic than it is right now. And so if you know of somebody, or if you're involved in an operations or facilities management position and you have questions, what it looks like moving forward post-COVID, we would love to talk to you. You can find us online at cleaningbyc3.com. Like Heartland Bowhunter, a brand new season of Heartland Waterfowl is coming out in July of 2020. You can find Heartland Bowhunter on Outdoor Channel and Heartland Waterfowl on the Sportsman's Channel. Rex, I keep talking to you about trying to get one of these little black boxes up there at the farm.
I need to get one for up here.
You do. These things are great. I've got 3 in my house. We went from $212 a month on our cable satellite, or I guess we didn't have satellite, our cable bill, and reduced it now to just an internet fee of $60 a month. And I'm getting more television content, all the TV channels, movies, pay-per-views, all the sports channels, kids programming. You can find information. Follow us on Facebook at littleblackbox4tv.com. And if you're into high intensity workouts or just some really cool high active gear, I encourage you to check out our website at myzia.com/Brucker. Check out the show. New guests coming up every week on Thursdays at 4:00 Central, streaming live on Facebook, Facebook, LinkedIn, Periscope, and YouTube. So how about that? That ends it. I appreciate you, Rex. Well, wait a minute. Before we leave, let's check in real, because there are a couple comments. Arthur wanted to say, great show, super guest, real deal. Rex is awesome, great businessman, outdoorsman, all around good guy. Well done by both of you. Thank you for watching. My guest from last week, Jillian, who is a super dear friend of mine who I love dearly. She was watching. Thank you, Jillian, for watching. I appreciate it. And then Ben kind of wrapping it up here, saying, real deal. You are the real deal Rex man.
Those guys got it all wrong. I'm the big deal, not the real deal.
Rex, thank you, man. You all
I appreciate it.
Have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend up there at your lodge up there. All right. Take care.
We are.
All right. See you later.
Man. Thanks a lot. See you guys.